Hey guys, my name is Alexandra Valentine and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So here we post outfit sewing tutorials, sewing hacks and whatnot. So if this is your first time on this YouTube channel, kindly give this video a huge thumbs up if you end up enjoying it, and also hit on the subscribe button to join the family. For my returning viewers, you're welcome once again. So in today's tutorial video, we are going to be drafting and cutting the outfit you saw earlier, this two-piece. Okay, this video is going to be quite long, so I'm going to be dividing it into two parts, so watch out for part two. The part two is going to be the sewing process. Okay, so let's just get straight into the video. So I've gone ahead to draft out my basic bodies, and what I just basically did was to mark my bust point, my waist and my hip line. So if you don't know how to draft out a basic bodice, I'm going to be leaving a link in the description box on the detailed tutorial on making a basic or drafting a basic bodice. Okay, so I marked out 1 inches horizontally for our button allowance, and then from that line I started marking my horizontal measurement. That's my shoulder, my round bust, my round hip from that line. Okay, so I've gone ahead to draw out my armhole, and now I'm marking my round bust measurement and my round hip measurement, then my round waist measurement. So my round waist measurement should be divided by 4. Same thing goes for the round hip measurement, divided by 4. Whatever it is you have there, you mark it down. Okay, then I'll now go ahead now to mark out my 1.5 inch. So I made a little mistake at this hip area, but we'll come back to fix that. So I'm adding 1.5 inch for side allowance, that's for stitching allowance. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all 3 points in a straight line. Now, once I've connected the 3 points in a straight line, I'm also going to go ahead to connect the original measurements. I mean the measurements before the stitching allowance. I'm going to connect it in a straight line as well, because this is going to be like, we are going to go about that manipulation, and when you want to go about that manipulation, it will involve side that. So hence why I am tracing out the original body measurements. Now I'm going ahead now to mark my measurement. Okay, my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Whatever you have there is what you are going to be imputing. Mind you, all my horizontal measurements, I am marking it from after this zip allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting the point I made for my dart intake. I'm going to be connecting them in a straight line. So next, I'll be coming down from the bust point line by 1 inch. I want to go ahead and do my side dart. Now this 1 inch I'm coming down, it should be on the inner line of your body measurement. Okay, then from that 1 inch I will also come down by 2 inches again. So these 2 inches now is the differences between your shoulder to waist at the back and your shoulder to waist in front. Whatever it is you have is what you are going to come down by after that 1 inches that you came down by. Okay, then you just connect it to the bust point in a straight line, so you have this at the end of the day. Okay, now that 1 inch I came down by is just because my bust point measurement is too close to my shoulder to bust point measurement is too close to my armhole. That's why I came down by that 1 inch, so that it will not be too close. Okay, now the next thing I'm doing is to divide my shoulder measurement, what is left of my shoulder measurement, divide by 2. Then I'll connect it to meet the bust point like so. Now it's this part that will be going out, so I'm just going to shade it. So that's the part that will be going out. Okay, we are going to close up that part at the end of the day. So if you observe the top of the outfit that we are creating, you observe that it has a pointy edge at the dart line. So what I'm going to be doing is, on the dart leg, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inch above and below the hip line. Okay, then the one that is above that mark, the mark I marked above the hip line, I'm going to just extend in a straight line like this. then I'm going to be connecting it to meet the body measurement in a V form or a slighted curve. Okay, then I am also going to be connecting from that dot line, the 1.5 inch below the hip line. I'm going to be connecting it to meet the waistline. It needs to be below the waistline. You can do the waistline, but I don't want my novels to be showing, so hence why I'm going for why I stopped below the waistline. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now to cut out what we've drafted. Okay, so I'm cutting along this V shape. Then I'm also going to be cutting on the other side as well. Now remember when I said I made a mistake at the hip area? Yeah, I'm going to be correcting that mistake. So the mistake is I made the hip fitted instead of loosened. So if we observe the top of the outfit we are recreating, we'll notice that the bust area and the hip area is actually tight, but it's loosed at the hip area. Okay, so what we are going to be doing is adding 1.5 inch to the already body measurements we have at the hip area. So I've added it, reconnected it to the waistline like this. Okay, and I've also reconnected this V to this first measurement, our previous stitching allowance. So that's what I'm going to be using now instead of this inner one. So I'm just going to be cancelling this inner one so that we know that we are not making use of this one. Then I'll go ahead and continue cutting out the pattern. So when I get to the waist area, I'm going to stop. We'll know the reason why I stopped at the waist area. Now I'm going to be cutting this side that's through the middle and not the lines, okay, because we want to be overlapping the patterns together. So we are going to be cutting it through the middle, and then to be able to make that side that effective, we'll have to cut through the shoulder. Remember, there is a running stitch coming from the shoulder downward. That means they made use of the shoulder dart. Okay, so in order to do this now, we'll have to close up the darts like this. Okay, so you want to make sure that your up line and your down line, they are touching each other. Then you use a masking tape to hold this down, or you use a pin to hold it down in place. Okay, so if you observe, you see that the up line is actually touching the down line, just like this. So that's basically what you want to do. Now observe that the body measurement has shifted. One is outside, one is inside, so we'll have to reconnect it. So that's the reason why I said we should not cut all the way to the, like, we should stop cutting at the waist area. So that's just it. Now we are going to be connecting the bust measurement to the hip the bust point measurement to the waist measurement again like this. Then we'll continue cutting. You see this part I'm doing right now, it's actually not necessary. I actually forgot that we are not going to be having a joint sleeve, like it's going to be a cut together sleeve, hence why I was doing this, but I'm not going to explain the reason why I was doing this. So let's just forget about that part, since it's not going to be effective in our pattern making or in the making of the dress generally. So let's just go ahead now and continue cutting. So I'll cut through the side, the shoulder, and the armhole. Now for the armhole, it's a V-shaped neckline, so it's going to be 3 by how deep you want it. Okay, so the 3 inches is for the width, then how deep you want it. So I want mine exactly how it is on the image we are recreating. So that one now is like below or on the bust point. Okay, so you can see that before it enters that 1 inch for zip allowance, it stops like at the bust point if you observe closely. Then I just went ahead to cut out the neckline. So right now we are going to be cutting through the darts, and that will be all for the drafting of the front. Now we are going to transfer these patterns to our fabric. Now I folded my fabric on a fold of 2, and I've pinned my patterns in place. So remember how I said that the sleeve is cut together? So what I'm just doing here on this side is I'm extending the shoulder in a straight line, okay, and also extending the armhole horizontal line also in a straight line. You see the reason why I said that thing I was doing earlier was not necessary. Okay, so what we are going to be doing now is we'll be marking how long we want this our sleeve to be. So what I have there is 7 inch plus half of an inch, which is 7.5. Then I'm also going to be marking 7.5 starting from the armhole vertical line. Okay, then I'll connect them together. So you want to also make sure that the round sleeve is what is going to fit into your round sleeve before you cut it out. So just the next thing now to do is just to cut it out, and while doing so you are going to be adding half of an inch around it aside the button allowance area and the stitching allowance area, but every other part we are going to be adding half of an inch to it. So that will be all for the front part. So just keep this aside and we'll work on the back part. For the back pattern, I've also gone ahead to draft out the pattern, okay, but I'll be explaining what I did here because it's quite different from the usual back pattern. So remember how we removed 2 inches for side dart, which is our differences between shoulder to waist in front and shoulder to waist at the back. Now for the back, we are going to be imputing our exact shoulder to waist at the back. Okay, so for mine I have it as 14 and a half inches, while for my front is 16.5 inches. Okay, so now if you bring your front pattern, the side front of your pattern paper, and you try to align it at the waist, you see that it's actually aligned, like it's aligning at this point. So what we are going to be doing now is to mark where the blouse stops. Okay, just use this side front pattern to mark where it stops on the back pattern. Okay, so the back pattern does not require much aside that waist changes, so we are just going to curve the back pattern like this, and that will be basically it. So I'm just cancelling this line so as not to be confused as to what the length of this blouse at the back is. So I'll go ahead now to cut out the pattern and then transfer it to my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be explaining how I extended the sleeve here. So it's just the same process. So I placed my tape on my shoulder line, and then I marked the length of the sleeve. Also placing my tape on the armhole vertical line, so I'm trying to get where that point is because this pattern is facing backwards, and I also mark the length of the sleeve still. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing my front pattern and I will be measuring the round sleeve just to get the exact measurements for the back round sleeve as well. So I will measure it, and what I have there is about 7.5 inch. So I'm going to be marking that, placing that measurement here. So what I have here too is 7.5 inch. So that's just basically it. And also for the extension on the shoulder area, I just place my ruler following the shoulder slant, and anywhere it takes me to, that should be your sleeve extension. So if you place your fabric on your front fabric on the both of them, you see that they are both aligned. And again, I added half of an inch all through. Remember, this fabric is on a fold of 2, and I did not open the center back. So the only part I did not add half of an inch is at the stitching allowance area. So that's just basically it. Now let's move over to the pants, to the making of the trouser. So this trouser is a 3/4 trouser, and I've gone ahead to cut out the length. So what I'm doing now is I want to mark my hip measurement. So I'm marking away 2 inches for waistband. Then I will now mark my hip line and my crotch measurement. So you want to take your crotch measurement divided by 2, so that's what is going to be your vertical crotch measurement in front. Okay, so I'm going to extend those points in a horizontal straight line. So next I will be marking my crotch extension. So to get our crotch extension, we are going to be dividing our hip divided by 16, so that is going to be our crotch extension. Okay, so we are going to be we'll mark that crotch extension at the hip area and the waistline as well, so we'll connect them in a straight vertical line like so. Now the next thing to do is to mark out the curve just like this into the crotch extension, more like we are drafting or we are marking an armhole, but this is not an armhole, this is just the crotch area. Okay, then I'll be coming down from the waistline by 0.75 inch. Remember that our pants normally is lower at the front and higher at the back. So we've marked our round hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches for stitching allowance on our hip line. Then we'll do the same thing for the waist area, but the waist we are going to be adding 1 inch for that intake. So that's our round waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches allowance, then plus 1 inch for that intake. Then we'll connect the measurement into that 1 inch that we came down by from the waist area. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, then we'll also connect from the waist to the hip area, and that's just it. So we'll go ahead now to cut out this fabric. So once that is done, we'll go ahead to open up the side. Okay, now for the back pattern, our fabric is on a fold of 2 still. What we are going to do now is to bring the front pattern that we drafted on as a template for cutting the back pattern. Okay, so we are just going to be placing the front fabric on the back fabric, making sure that there is a lot of space at the crotch extension area. Okay, now for the waistline, I'll be going up by 1.5 inch. Okay, just to raise the back a little bit above. Okay, so now we'll be connecting it into the waistline like this. Okay, now the next thing to do is we are going to be marking our crotch extension measurement, okay, from this where the front fabric stops. Okay, so we are going to be extending that in a straight line, and then we'll connect the front extension to the waistline like this. The front extension, that's what we are going to be connecting to this waistline. Okay, so that it's so that your bum is going to sit there properly without like being too tight. Now we'll just curve out that sharp area into the crotch extension, and then we will go ahead now and cut this out. So this pant is going to have a side pocket, so let's just go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so I have here 4 pieces of fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to be aligning all 4 pieces down flat. So the length of the pocket is 12 inches, and while the width is 8 inches, so this should be enough. Now we'll place our front fabric on it like this. Then we are going to be cutting or tracing the side. So we are going to be tracing the side up, and then we'll cut it down. We will also trace cut the waist area. So this is just to make it have the shape of the trouser on the edge, okay, on the top and also the side. Now to cut out the opening of the pockets, we are going to be marking 2 inches for the opening of the pocket. So you see me marking 2 inches now. The 2 inches I'm marking now is for the 2 inches stitching allowance we added, so that one will have to go. Okay, then for the length we are making use of 7 inches. Okay, and we'll also mark 2 inches on that 7-inch marked point. Then we'll connect it to meet the one at the top, just like this. Now we are going to be cutting this out. Now remember that we have 4 pieces of fabric beneath this front trouser, so we are going to be cutting 2 only. So the 4 pieces of fabric is 2 pieces to 1 part of the pocket, 2 pieces to 1 part of the pocket. So the one that we cut out will be used to turn the edge of the fabric like this, okay, while the other second piece will be used to replace what we cut out. I don't know if that makes sense, but we all will understand more when we want to show it in our next video. So stay tuned for part 2. Also, if you end up enjoying this video, give it a huge thumbs up and also hit on the subscribe button to join the family. Okay, until next time, bye.